Unlocking the Soul, hosted by Rob Simperman and produced by Simplify Films. Episodes cover mature and controversial themes, including death, murder, and suicide. Consider this when deciding whether and when to watch.
16. Life Reviews. After meeting with our guide, our next substantive activity is to analyze our most recent life. This visualization of a life can be represented in several ways. It's not a new concept. From the Egyptian Hall of Judgment to Archangel Michael weighing souls at Judgment Day, soul evaluations are parts of many cultures' mythology. And this is no brief life flashing before our eyes episode during a brush with death either. Canon describes a subject looking over a vast valley setting that represents all scenes of the recent life. She could focus on any aspect to review lessons learned and identify focus areas for a future life. We do this mainly by working with our guide or another master. Seth states that souls can relive portions of a past life during this period of self-examination. We are able to review the entire performance, strengths and weaknesses, and choose whether to return to physical existence. After death, experience has as much organization, highly intricate and involved, as you know now, he says. One feature of the review has been described as viewing the ripples we made. We can see the way we touched the lives of others and the way those souls touched others as a result. Think about the plot of It's a Wonderful Life, where the guardian angel Clarence shows George Bailey how the world would be without his effects upon it. While souls may feel remorse for squandering an opportunity or not learning an intended lesson, there's no sense of judgment. All seem to agree that we are our own harshest critic, as we souls are driven to accomplish our plans, the contracts discussed earlier. You might ask whether our souls or our physical brains should be held to account for moral failings. Newton's subjects remind us that the human brain has no innate ethical compass. He says the conscience is the soul's responsibility. However, an overarching theme of forgiveness seems to permeate the spirit world. That said, lives ending in suicide are seen as a failure of sorts, and often require heavy healing and counseling to get back on track. But even suicides don't result in punishment, and certainly not hell as some believe. However, life challenges avoided by taking a suicide route must be faced in a subsequent incarnation until overcome. Suicide is never part of a life plan, and it's certainly no escape from challenges. But it's a delay of progress. And with proper guidance and adjustments, such as bringing more spiritual energy into its incarnations, a soul gets the support it needs to be successful the next time. Now, there appears to be one exception to the non-judgmentalism. The most extreme life situations can damage a soul beyond repair, such as with a mass murderer. The only option is recycling the soul's energy back to the source, stripping its identity. Again, this is an extremely rare situation. So is this a solitary journey, or do we have travel companions along the way? 17. A Class of Soulmates. As we progress through the cycle of incarnations, we have a primary cohort of about 15 souls. We are all at the same level of development and move through lessons and lifetimes together. We are old friends, sometimes sharing dozens or even hundreds of incarnation adventures. As a result, we have a playful and supportive tone of interaction with these peers. A common set of guides teaches and coaches these soulmates. Think of the word soulmate like classmate. Canon describes their goal of advancement being just like a school class. In fact, she says that souls wouldn't want immortality if offered. We would get bored quickly, like staying in the third grade long after we've learned the third grade lessons and your friends have moved on. We have one or more primary soulmates among our class group. We tend to play major parts in each other's lives, often spouses or close siblings. This is closer to how the term soulmate is commonly used to mean one we have an exceptionally close connection with, even a feeling of being drawn together. But even those close soulmates may take a break from each other, skipping lives together to pursue different experiences. So don't panic if you don't feel like you have a primary soulmate in this life. And if you do meet yours, don't assume it'll be a smooth sailing either. Even primary soulmates are there to help us learn agreed-upon lessons, which just might be difficult challenges. And beyond our core soulmate class, we also have an extended community. This is a cluster of at least 1,000 souls. This group plays the bit parts in our life. Think of the friends from grade school who now you only keep up with on social media, for example. 18. The Council of Elders. If our spirit guide is like our teacher, then the Council of Elders is like our guidance counselors. We first meet with these spiritual masters soon after death, and usually a second time, soon before a new life. We discuss the kinds of situations and personalities that would be best for our growth path with them. They are described as wise and compassionate, with infinite patience with our faults, yet they carefully evaluate our life choices and behavior. They do not punish, but through their questioning, they hold us accountable for karmic impacts and the implications of our future path. Dr. Newton's subjects describe the elders as representing the last station of beings who have responsibility for souls still incarnating on earth. They are ascended masters no longer incarnating, so they are above even our guides in vibration level. Dr. Newton says the council is not so concerned about how many times we fell down in our progress through life, but whether we had the courage to pick ourselves up and finish strong. But where do we get the skills we need to be successful in our lifetime trials? 19. The Learning Plane. We amass great knowledge here of lessons to be learned, karma to be dealt with. We learn many things about dealing with human nature and the problems I had to face, also about the problems I will be facing the next time I'm born. Dolores Cannon. Learning and growth are very important to our souls. Edgar Cayce said our plans involve our full being, our physical, mental, and spiritual growth. We may decide to focus our next incarnation on developing our intellect, emotions, creativity, social connections, spirituality, physicality, or a combination of those. Seth describes our self-examination and learning as incorporating our full knowledge from numerous reincarnations. That way, we get access to the insights more advanced than a living person can contain. We move up in vibration and development along our path at our own speed. As Dr. Newton describes, the system encourages our march toward enlightenment and eventually the perfection of souls. But the analogy doesn't stop there. There is a group manifested energy structure in the learning dimension. It's an even higher dimension than the transitional area discussed so far, so we can access it only after we are fully reoriented to the spirit world. Here, what we need and want to learn is attracted to us. One particular subject described coming here to learn about standing up for herself, being more outspoken, and avoiding being manipulated by others. She learned that her next lifetime will have such opportunities. When people refer to hardships as being tested, they may be more accurate than they know. Cannon says that there's schools on various levels of the spirit world for souls at different stages of development. There are schools for learning to become a guide, to inspire our inventors, composers, and artists, even to become a creator of worlds. Lessons can be like a lecture, seminar, or workshops, but we can even experience particular incarnations in their entirety. One particularly interesting tool on the learning plane Cannon uncovered is known as imprinting. This is a way of preparing a soul for its first earthly life or gaining new perspective down the road. It involves selecting one, several, or even hundreds of lives from the Akashic Records or Book of Life and experiencing them fully. It lets the soul get up to speed on emotions, language, customs, politics, social norms, whatever they need. It's like watching a rerun on TV, but it's so immersive that the hypnosis subjects are often unable to distinguish these memories from lives actually lived. And this explains some oft-mentioned stories of multiple people saying they are all the reincarnation of Napoleon or Cleopatra or Jesus. But the learning done in the spirit world is inherently limited. It's like learning from a book when only hands-on, practical experience can round out an education. Getting real-world experience, so to speak, is why we incarnate. More than anything else, this is the meaning of life. But Seth cautions us not to think of it in terms of progress or goodness in traditional terms. Similar to the Buddhist understanding, we are here simply to learn how to be, to create ourselves as fully as possible. So how do we ensure a life provides us with ideal opportunities and experiences? Well, once our wounds are healed, our interlife meetings and trainings are completed, and we've caught up with our soul families and friends, we again feel the desire for more growth. And for us souls, that typically means a pull toward another life. So the next major activity in our interlife journey is planning out our next life. Newton's subjects described the decision to incarnate as based on 3 factors. 1, am I ready for a new physical life? 2, what lessons do I want to undertake to advance my learning and development? And 3, where should I go and who should I be in my next life for the best opportunity to work on those goals? There's some debate about whether one is ever forced to return to incarnation. It seems more like being strongly encouraged to take on lives to gain valuable perspective. It's ultimately done with a consensus between ourselves and our advisors. Casey said that once we start in the schoolhouse of a particular planet, we must finish in that schoolhouse. I suspect it's comparable to how students in our own schools, once we enroll in a particular school, we are generally going to progress through that school system and be strongly encouraged to complete it. However, we can switch schools if it's not a good fit, which in this case may mean a different planet. We could even drop out in extreme circumstances and take one of the different growth tracks we'll discuss shortly. There are also opportunities for resting. If we just need a vacation or a sabbatical, Cannon talked of a subject in a resting place. There the soul was unwilling to describe it in much detail. Cannon felt like she was trying to wake someone from sleep who didn't want to be bothered. Other times, a soul may be in an entire resting lifetime. This could be an especially easy life, devoid of serious challenges, or it could be a life as a lower energy form, like an animal, or as an inanimate object, like a rock, which does contain some elemental soul energy. Or it could involve visiting another, less stressful planet as a tourist of sorts. Yes, this is related to some ET encounters on Earth, but that's not for today's discussion. Newton found over 1/3 of his subjects had a life on another planet. One subject described lives on a world with similar physics to Earth. He would go there to hone his creativity in a relaxing environment. He said, "There are no people, no responsibilities, just small animals. It's like a lab to experiment with creation." That soul was working on mastering the proper chemical conversions to form plant life. But at some point, we chose to incarnate on Earth next, for the next lifetime. So, how did we end up in this current life?